ready for another lesson?
Ooh, baby. That sounds good.
With that generic song, rock and roll.
I love stock music. That's all I listen to. That's at the top of my stock music playlist. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, of course, Adam Schwartz. And on today's episode of the news, the Eggman is back at Disney. No trailer talk this week. We'll get to the new streaming. It's a rather short list. And, of course, what we're watching, then our main review for the episode is American Psycho. Take three. Third time's the charm here. Finally got to it. But, of course, before I get to any of that, I'm joined today by Face Mask Nathaniel Gingrich.
What up, folks? I'm Face Mask Nathaniel. As you may know, my morning routine starts with a IV and collagen face mask, and then I go for an exfoliating...
like a charcoal mask?
Yep, and then and then I do an exfoliating scrub.
Okay.
And then I do the charcoal mask.
Oh, gotcha.
And then,
yeah.
Yep, and then I wash my face with Evian water from a chilled in a bottle.
That's a good choice. I use Voss.
Sure. And then finally I end it with a moisturizer mask.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah, because regular moisturizer, it gets too oily. If you do the mask,
right? Yeah,
it appropriately moisturizes your face, but it doesn't leave it too greasy.
Keeps my my pores clear as well too.
Yes, exactly. You don't want to clog those up. Yeah, there's a whole routine.
It really is a trouble with the mustache and beard situation as well too.
Sure. Do you guys have like a skin routine that you go through or anything, or any skincare products you use often?
Yeah, no, it's mostly just a face cloth at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a routine, but definitely, I'd say a procedure.
Okay.
I feel like that's one of those things I've been putting off until I'm 30. Yeah. And it's just like, I'll figure it out at some point. Right until my skin's at the verge of just developing cancer.
I recommend as soon as possible you guys start using sunscreen every day. Because if you see, there's some pictures out there that you can look at, but it's like truck driver. There's a famous one of a truck driver, and it's just the left side of his face is way more wrinkly and worn out because that's the side that the sun was on more often than the right side of his face. And so the left side is just completely wrinkly and everything. And there's another one I saw a couple months ago on Twitter where it was a woman in her 60s, 60s or 70s, but she used sunscreen, but only on her face, not her neck. And so you can it's like a line almost where you can tell the wrinkles are much deeper and more noticeable on her neck than her face from using sunscreen.
Being a child that grew up in Arizona and was just irradiated on a daily basis, do you think I should really start anytime soon, or just keep it going and hope that I end up with some sort of superpower, maybe really stretchy skin?
I don't know if that's a realistic possibility. I think anything will help.
It's gotta start with someone, though, right?
The superpowers?
Yes. I'm saying just because there hasn't been, a case of radiation being a net positive for humans yet.
Well, it's not really radiation. It's more the UV rays.
Right. Well, what if I'm photosynthesizing them?
Okay. That's a good possibility.
We're off track early, folks. This is what happens when we're in person.
Is Wall Street Tyler Verdalis?
I'm from Wall Street.
Some would say he's the wolf of Wall Street.
Making money.
Making investments. Stealing money.
For other people.
Yes, all in the interest of other people, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you live... At what point, have you ever felt in your life you've lived like a badass Wall Street lifestyle as in the Wolf of Wall Street? Like you felt like you hit your stride for 1 week and you were just balling out? Like you just felt on top of the world?
Yeah, I feel like that's a goal. You should try and feel like that every day.
Yeah.
But people have their downs, but I think anybody that truly knows me knows that it's very hard to stress me out.
Sure.
And I try to look at most positives. But if I am upset, you will probably be able to read it like a book on my face.
Gotcha.
So
stressed out. It's quiet.
God, that album. So good. And rounding out the squadron, of course, in person as well. It's big, bone white BlakeHolder.
Hey, what up? What up?
It's bone white.
Yeah, one of the better scenes in this.
That
film,
that's one of the
way for
that's
sure.
a very good scene. Very, very.
How
good
much
scene.
do you think you could just melt their brains if you walked in and just presented them with an all black business card and like with silver lettering?
or like gold,
Yeah.
Just to stand out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd think that was Austin.
probably lose their minds.
Could
Yeah.
be.
I feel like business cards have probably evolved in their design quite a bit since the 80s, you know?
Well,
They
yeah.
are, but it's a lost art form. Nobody.
Sure.
It's very difficult to find somebody that's like, oh my god, your business card.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I reckon still at like the C-suite level on Wall Street, there's just some small like card maker that probably has like an actual name that lives in like a building that's sandwiched between two giant skyscrapers, you know, and he's just in there.
Yeah,
all
but
day.
he's like low key. He also has like some sort of like guns or something hidden. Like he's like from fucking
John Wick.
Oh, he's a John Wick
John Wick.
character.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that's what I
like
was
you have to
thinking.
pay him in gold coins.
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
his cards you can also use to like kill people.
Yeah.
He might be a gnome. We're not sure.
True.
Like he could be of magical origin, but we just don't know.
We don't know. Who knows? He could have stretchy skin.
He could have stretchy skin. He could be the first person that radiation helped.
And so he got too much radiation, so he must stay inside making business cards.
That's his one great skill.
I think we have a very good idea / like intro plot line for a anthology film of the John Wick series.
Either that or we're tying it into the American Psycho universe, which I'm all for as well, too.
We could. Yeah. We
We're all
John
about
Wick's
new ideas here on Back Row Banter.
We'll make it like a Cloverfield kind of anthology franchise.
Okay.
Where we just kind of go around telling different stories of Wall Street, but they're like tangentially related.
Or John Wick v. Patrick Bateman.
Ooh, crossover.
And I'm taking John Wick.
I am also taking John Wick.
He's washing Patrick Bateman.
You think
Yeah.
so?
For sure.
But what? All right, plot
sure.
twist, though. Patrick Bateman starts naked with a chainsaw. +2 charisma points. or something.
Little different. I think I got to take John Wick, though.
Or his abilities are amplified because he's so crazy. He also thinks he's John Wick.
There we go.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, yeah, you may be onto something.
Stay tuned, listeners, for this Back Row exclusive coming soon.
Yes, it's in early pre-production, but we are announcing now.
BVW.
Rough storyboard.
Yeah, we're in the storyboard process. We're still looking at casting lists, but we've got our 2 stars lined up. It's Nathaniel.
And Christian Bale.
Yeah, Nathaniel is the gnome business card maker.
And Christian Bale's playing John Wick. It's really weird.
Exactly. Yeah, in a shocking twist of events, he's recast in this alternate universe. Everything's in the multiverse now, so I think we could make it work. Speaking of multiverse, we are currently living in the one where Bob Iger is back as CEO.
He is.
That was, I wouldn't say surprising, but I just wasn't expecting it. I didn't know.
They tried to sneak it in under the radar, didn't they?
They kind of just was like, hey guys, this is happening.
They announced it on a Sunday after the release of Wakanda Forever last week too.
Yeah.
I feel like they were kind of just trying to, slip it in so like the investors were kind of would see it and be like, oh, thank God, the Bob man's back.
Yeah.
And instead, whereas everyone else will be like, all right, business as usual at Disney kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is I didn't even hear much about Disney struggling under the new CEO. It wasn't really talked about it, but I'm sure.
I think it was certainly felt most at the parks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
Which
or heard
I
from the
can
stories.
only speak of having gone back in, May or March with my family, one of the M months. And it is way different where you had the reservation system and kind of everything was much more structured and working on an app that had I not been a millennial that is used to their phone would definitely struggle with, I would say. So I can't imagine what that was like for families that were like not used to smartphones or traveling in from other countries or something like that. Like, I'm sure it was just a nightmare. So, yeah. Anyways, I kind of tangentially feel affected by this, I suppose. But
yeah. Well, I didn't know this. The stock for Disney had sunk 40% this year.
Wow.
Which is quite a lot.
Yeah, I guess your CEO is going to have to answer for that, huh?
Yeah, someone's got to answer for it. And apparently Disney Plus has yet to turn a profit since its launch, which isn't completely shocking, considering that it was when it launched and up until actually like last week, it was at $6 a month. But they just announced that they're raising the price of the Disney bundle. I got an email about that last week. I forgot what they were raising it to, but like it seems like they're kind of like, we gotta turn this shit around.
Yeah, well, they were introduced to basically undercut Netflix, weren't they? If you want to think about it.
Yeah, definitely. Which has kind of been happening. I mean, Netflix has been losing quite a bit of subscribers.
How much is Disney Plus now?
I think
$7.99.
6 or 7, something like that.
Yeah, let me see what the prices are currently.
Yeah. Just curious, because to your point, Nathaniel, they definitely came in to undercut Netflix, and Netflix prices I feel like their prices jumped like twice in the past.
Right. It's almost a yearly thing at this point.
For sure, man. For sure.
It's currently $7.99, which is
that's not too bad.
Of course, more than it was when it launched. This is outdated because it still says that the Disney Plus bundle is at $13.99, which is what it was at before. I got that email. Let me see if I can just find the email that they sent me saying that they're raising the price. Because I don't think it was by that much. Let's see, Disney Plus. It's actually on my other email account. But yeah, I mean, it's not shocking that you just want the guy who was at the ship doing well for 15 years to come back. Because he's signed on for another... Just 2 years.
Yeah, it's basically...
Because the guy's 71. He's getting up there. I'm sure he's ready to retire.
I think he basically said, I'll help you find the next guy, but then I'm out kind of thing.
Yeah. Which is admirable of him. I'm sure he wasn't really looking to come back. I'm sure he was enjoying retirement.
I'm sure he got a fat check.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. They raised it to $14.99 a month, so it looks
there you go.
$2 increase.
There's Bob's new paycheck.
Yeah, that's effective December 23rd. 2022, which is still $15 a month. That's what I pay for Netflix, or at least Netflix is more than that, right?
Do you think this will kick off an HBO Max like cutting spree? Like, do you think Bob comes in and just goes, we're cutting Marvel down to 3 shows a year and 2 movies, or do you think he comes in and like not as many Disney Plus shows, perhaps?
Potentially, because, I mean, if you look at it, how all this lines up, Iger left in February of 2022.
Sure.
Or, sorry, 2020. So it's been about 1.5 years, 2 years, and that's also around the time that they started pumping out more and more content for Disney Plus Marvel shows and whatnot. And they had, of course, some of that planned before that launched, but it just seems like we're getting quite a lot. And the movies being up to like 4 a year seems that it's just oversaturated, and maybe Iger will be like, we need to cut back on this because it's just diminishing returns at this point, especially on Disney Plus with those shows, because even with that, whatever the technology is called, the LED screens, I forgot they have a name.
Volume.
Yeah, even with that technology, it's not like these shows aren't somewhat expensive to make, especially when you're making 4 of them a year, 4 or 5 of them a year. Like, that's got to be a decent amount that you're not getting a lot back with that $8 subscriptions or $15 subscriptions. Because the other thing too is with that, $15 a month for 3 streaming services is a good deal on the consumer end, but maybe that's part of why they haven't really seen a return in profit on Disney's end, and that's probably why they're reevaluating stuff here. They're just trying to look at the margins, so I'm assuming that's maybe what Iger will start doing as he also looks to recoup the parks, as you were saying. But I don't think we'll see anything. I don't think we'll see them do anything that will hurt the consumer too much, because as much as Disney is kind of a monopoly at this point with how much they own, and they're one of the major, I think they are probably the biggest media conglomerate there is really at this point. They are still, in my opinion, somewhat friendly to the consumer. It's not like they are taking too much advantage of the kind of the power that they hold in Hollywood and just media in general. And obviously, I'm sure there are areas you could look to where you would disagree with that. But I think as a whole, they're not doing as much as they potentially could be doing to kind of take as much or use their power in malice or ill intent.
Sure.
Which I kind of applaud them for doing. It's like, yeah, we have all this stuff and we could abuse it, but we'll keep that limited. I don't feel like I do think the pricing of Disney Plus is very appropriate and everything. I like where it's at, even with the price increases. So, meanwhile, Netflix is like, we're just gonna do $24 a month and no password sharing. And we're just gonna give
Netflix
you all these
is
mediocre
nuts,
ass shows.
Absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how Disney turns things around with Bob Iger back at the helm. I liked what he was doing when he was there, so I'm not like upset at this. I'm glad they decided to bring him back rather than bring on another CEO, because that could have been more of a situation you see where we're seeing at HBO, where it's just like, oh man, we really need to make some drastic changes here, and I'm just gonna start cutting things and changing our plans just because that might work. Whereas it seems like Bob Iger already, obviously, he had the job for 15 years, knows what he would be doing to kind of help out their profits and whatnot.
For sure.
All right. Well, that was the only news story of the week. A pretty big one that, again, they tried to kind of slip away under the radar. It was funny. I just saw 2 tweets on Twitter, and I was like, Iger? Why is he back in the news?
Right. I kind of had the same reaction.
Yeah. I was just scrolling through all the usual hullabaloo on Twitter, all the Elon, drama. And then it was like, oh yeah, Rob Iger's back, by the way. I'm like, cool. I didn't know he needed to be, but I guess it was necessary. How about Elon on Twitter, eh?
Oh man, I don't even want to go into.
You don't want to? No. I think it's hilarious. I just hope it doesn't break the platform. Like I legitimately think with all these layoffs, I'm reading all these stories, and it's just there was a group of 20 engineers at Twitter that were top engineers that were basically the Justice League of engineers there that were responsible if anything major were to go wrong, and they were basically the main people responsible for keeping the ship afloat, and 17 or 18 of the 20 resigned.
Right.
So there's only 2 left, and all these other engineers that were kind of responsible for major or less tasks and just don't have the experience to keep Twitter afloat are kind of having to be responsible for things they've never been responsible for before. And it seems like it's been the case up and down the line at all the departments there. And it genuinely seems like there's a very real chance that Twitter one day might just start or stop working for a while.
Yeah, it's
interesting to think about.
I don't think we're that lucky.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I think I don't know. Maybe I just believe billionaires somehow figure out some way to.
Oh, I'm sure you will
exploit it to work. But I just don't think we live in a world that is just enough to see Twitter just fall into the toilet now and actually break.
Yeah, but if it did, it'd be sad because I love Twitter, and I don't know what media platform most people would transition to, but at the same time, I think it'd be hilarious if he was just somehow out of $44 billion and was not able to recoup his investment on it.
Right.
And I think that'd be a big blow to his ego, of course, as well, because he's always been known as this huge success.
Right.
And every company he touches somehow, is successful in some way or whatever. And for him to come to Twitter with all these asinine ideas, like paying $8 for a blue check mark, which more people than I expect are doing. People in Halo.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Are you crazy? Of course they are.
Yeah. It was the people I follow in Halo, so many of them, there was a lot of people that were like, I can't believe you would do this. And then later that day, I see people that I know, they follow each other or talk to each other, their friend has the blue check mark. And then day by day, I see more and more people with it. Damn, that's hilarious.
Dude, so much of this world right now is predicated on what you can buy versus what you can earn.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, hopefully Twitter ends up okay. Trump's back in more than one way.
Is he?
But that's something I definitely don't want to get into.
I'm not really on Twitter, so I could give 2 shits either way.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's it for the news. No trailer talk, as I mentioned earlier. So we can get into Adam Schwartz's completely subjective nudist streaming list for the week of November 20th, through the 26th, the week of Thanksgiving, Turkey Week, football-ish week, capitalism week. It's all wrapped into one.
Yes.
Yeah, what a funny. I think it's so funny that we have our day of giving thanks followed by the day of capitalism right after. It's like back-to-back holidays that are very, very contrasted.
But you buy gifts at a discounted price to give to someone else later in the year. So it is still about giving.
Okay. I guess that's one way to look at it.
I mean,
It's a terrible way. Clearly, I hope everyone can hear the sarcasm on my voice.
for sure. And even if you were to like break down even like Thanksgiving as a holiday itself, which we all know it's just a shitty holiday, like something.
It's
just that's America for you, man.
Yeah, it really is. Well, the new streaming list. Netflix is getting Trevor Noah, I Wish You Would. This is his new comedy special. I believe it's his third comedy special. He's leaving The Daily Show, and he's claimed it was to focus more on stand-up, but it seems like he's been able to do both at the same time, so I don't know if that's the real reason.
Maybe he just wants to be done.
I wouldn't blame him. Although his TikTok is pretty good. The clips from his show that they put.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I just don't watch a lot of TV at this point or Comedy Central or anything like that. But if if there was an easier way to watch it, I think some of his bits and takes are pretty good. Amazon Prime isn't getting anything, or that's it for Netflix. Amazon Prime, Hulu, and HBO Max are not getting anything. Disney Plus is getting Andor episode 12. Out of how many, Nathaniel? 13 or 14?
I think 12.
Is that the finale?
I don't know.
I thought it was at least 13.
I'm not sure.
How many episodes of Andor? Oh, it is 12, so the season finale.
Wow. I confess, been a bad boy and not been watching Andor the last 2 weeks because work's
so
crazy.
You're not caught up.
I am not.
Okay, fair enough. And then Disney Plus is also getting the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Is that out already?
Sometime this week. I forgot what day exactly, but it is coming out, which will be interesting. I'll definitely check that out.
Blake just disappeared from Back Row HQ. He actually walked out onto a balcony and dove off at the sound of more Marvel coming out.
Yeah, so
it was too much.
Aim for the bushes.
Yeah, I think that's something we won't be able to escape for the next 10 years, so.
I just don't know if it ever ends.
Honestly,
I like how you're just mentally in it for the long haul, just for the next decade.
Yeah, I don't,
At
do you guys
least,
think it slows down in the next 10 years?
I mean,
no way.
It's not going to slow down until people stop going to these movies.
Yeah, the only way I think that it does is if they really start to read the room. I don't think that they will, because you're always going to get the people that will just show up and show out for it.
For sure.
Because if they say drink the Kool-Aid, they will. Yeah, I mean, it's just funny. It could easily last the next 10 years, but I just know where you're at mentally, and it's funny that you're just like, I'm just gonna lock this in.
Yeah,
they're almost just an industry in and of themselves.
They are at this point.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I just don't see it slowing down or stopping until they don't see the profits that they're seeing now, or they see greatly diminishing returns. There's no point for them to stop if they're making $700 million a movie.
right. Because they're what now? When was the first Iron Man? 08?
08. So it's been 14
years in.
Yeah,
going on 15. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time. We could see another 15 years.
It'll come back around.
Yeah. I don't know if I brought this up before, but I remember who compared this. Forgot who it was. Some Hollywood actor, but did an interview, or maybe it was a director. But they basically compared the superhero kind of craze right now to like westerns in older Hollywood, where it's just like back in the day, like if you were like a kind of an actor that either was trying to be up and coming or an actor that had kind of peaked and still wanted some work, you just go do a western, and like because they would just make you money, and
Sure.
they were very popular, and I feel like that's a lot of what Marvel is at this point. It's just kind of a new type of movie that's a little generic and a little overdone, but still makes money, is still very popular, and I like that analogy a lot. It's pretty apt when you kind of think about it. Well, that's it for the nudie streaming list. Very short list. So if there wasn't anything on there that you want to check out, Nathaniel, is there something you would recommend the listener check out?
Just out on streaming right now?
Or just what you were watching.
Okay.
So
that was the segue we were going for?
Yeah, just trying to segue.
I was like, ooh, is this Nathaniel
Something
special?
You
Right.
Definitely just do that if you like.
Just pick something.
Yeah.
What did I see recently? I don't know what's on there.
Barbarians on HBO Max.
Barbarians on HBO Max. There you go, folks.
That's all you need.
I was thinking about Pig again today. Go watch Pig. Find where that's streaming.
True.
Which you know what the other thing I was thinking about too? Have you seen the Poughkeepsie tapes?
No, I almost watched it about 2 weeks ago though. It was on Tubi.
Yeah.
It was on Tubi, and I almost clicked it. But what did I end up putting on? I think I ended up putting on something else. But that is something I do have to get to, and it does have a relatively short runtime.
It's not long.
So like I gotta just commit to it.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that you either watch and you're like, I will never watch this movie again, or it's one of those you watch and you're like, this will be one of those ones I'd probably come back to like every other year, or something like that. And I feel like for guys like me and you, it's just like, yeah, this will be up there as like a weird cult classic
For sure, yeah. I know it's very eerie. I know that much.
It is.
I've seen a few clips as well too that are like, ooh, it's a little.
Yeah, it is definitely like, it's one of those ones where you're just like, your experience kind of watching it is just, holy crap, who thinks of this?
For sure,
Like,
for sure.
But yeah, anyways, found footage fun one. Go watch the Poughkeepsie tapes on Tubi. There's my recommendation. It's not fun, folks. Just, yeah, it's horrifying. Anyways, what I've been watching. I took a leaf out of your book this week, Adam, and I watched a documentary on HBO Max called Spielberg.
Oh, okay.
So it is
It's
HBO.
about Scorsese?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he actually does feature in it quite often.
Really?
Yeah. So it is obviously about Steven Spielberg, who has a new movie coming out or is in limited release now, The Fablemans.
Yes. Yeah. I saw
which
a
is
trailer for that.
supposed to be about his kind of childhood and growing up and that kind of thing as well too. But yeah, it's an HBO. I think it's an HBO original documentary, kind of going. It's from 2017, I want to say. So I think he'd just done like BFG and Bridge of Spies or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's him kind of just going through a bunch of different, moments from his career and kind of how he got started and the kind of the group he formed with Scorsese and Brian De Palma and George Lucas and. Coppola.
I knew exactly who you were trying to think of.
Thank you. Yes. Francis Ford Coppola and kind of them and how they kind of function together and stuff and all of that coming up and how his personal life changed the films and what projects he decided to take on and that kind of thing as well too. So it was really, really interesting and kind of, eye-opening and did remind me that there's a lot of Spielberg movies that I haven't seen yet. And,
he's got so many.
Yeah, and just enjoy a lot. So it was good. And the other thing I've been watching a lot of is Critical Role, which I've been talking about for I think the last 3 weeks now, which I think I've discovered is just something I do during the holidays, is I just kind of pick a show or a thing and just choose that to be my background noise and like comfort food during the this time of year for us. And
when it's dark at 3:30.
Yeah, and for those of us in the retail world, it's need something to come home and turn on and watch and just shut off your certain parts of your brain and just be entertained. And it is doing a great job of that, particularly because they're just such long episodes that I can just kind of sink my teeth into. And I'm remembering a love of fantasy. I think I haven't nurtured in a long time, and like in sort of that beyond just Game of Thrones and like that kind of realistic and sometimes there's a dragon style fantasy of just like now everything's on the table. Because I used to be a big nerd in middle school as well too. So it's just been really fun with that. So they have another show that is Four-Sided Dive, which is like kind of interviewing the cast about some of their more inspirations for the characters and stuff like that as well too. And I've been enjoying that a lot, so that's one of the things we've been watching. And then the other thing that's kind of been mildly addicting recently, have you played or heard of it all, Marvel Snap?
I have. I've heard of it. I haven't played it at all, but I've heard it's good and it's been become pretty popular.
It is, yeah. It is a really good game. Now, I don't really go in for phone games ever because I'm an old man. But it is a game where it's basically you have 3 places you can play your cards, and you only have like a like small deck. It's like 12 cards or something like that. And then you just play with the different Marvel heroes. They all have different abilities and kind of effects that they do. Each of the locations has different effects, and then you just play against people online. And it's the perfect kind of like little, I have 4 minutes. I'm just going to fire off a game real quick and then go back to what I've been doing. So that's my new addiction as well. So that's where I've been getting all my serotonin or whatever it is. That's the good drug this week. Blake, what have you been watching?
Yeah, I was actually logging that on Letterboxd right now, trying to figure out what I had on here. Got to a few things. One was a rewatch of 28 Weeks Later. That's something Tay's been trying to get me to sit down and watch the past like 3 weeks every time.
All right, so the tough question, is that the better film between the two?
Oh, so we didn't watch 28 Days.
Okay.
Like I said, we watched Weeks. Also starring Imogen Poots.
Yes.
Which I totally forgot until I put the film on. I was like, oh my God. It's Imogen Poots and Idris Elba.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like the army sergeant,
Right,
oddly enough.
yeah.
Something I just totally forgot until he's got like 5 lines in the entire movie.
If I'm not mistaken, that one is written by Alex Garland, our boy.
It is. I think the second one and I believe the first one as well.
Yeah, they might both be.
Who's also in talks, or it's not even in talks. I think they've already greenlighted it, but it was going to be 28 months later.
Oh, okay.
And I believe he's the director behind it. He as an Alex Garland.
Sure, that makes sense.
So
at this
should
point.
get some heavy traction behind it. I think it'll be a good film. I don't know if they have any casting yet. But to your point, is it the better film? That's tough. So actually, me and Tay were talking, and short answer, I would say yes.
Really? Okay.
The first film, though, it's a totally different film.
It is.
It's very slow. You see kind of obviously like the zombie apocalypse type thing, and then it turns into a totally different film once they kind of get on like the army base.
Yep. Yeah.
It's just a drastically different film. But I think I like the second one a little more, just a little more fast paced.
Is that Jeremy Renner that's in that one too?
Jeremy Renner's in that as well. Yeah, it's a pretty good cast. What's her name is the kind of like the
Rose Byrne, isn't it?
I'll say Rose. Yes.
No. Yeah. Is it Rose Byrne?
Yes,
yeah, it is Rose Byrne.
It is.
Yeah, she's in there, and then Robert Carlyle is the dad.
Yeah.
Who's great in that and great in everything as well too. But yeah.
But nonetheless, overall, good movie. Me and him kind of sat down and talked. We're like, yeah, I think we both like the second one more. That's why we put that one on. But then just the opening scene, I forgot how intense the opening scene of that film is, where they're kind of sitting eating dinner.
And then
the little boy
starts.
knocks on the door. Yeah, and then the movie just starts from there. And I think from there, me and him talked, and I'm ready to kind of commit that I think that's a top 3 horror opening scene.
Wow.
We've got all time. Off the top of my head, I was thinking that, the original Halloween, Scream.
Okay.
And I was hard-pressed to put anything else above it besides those two.
Fair enough.
So,
if
does anybody else have any quick thoughts
for openings?
Or openings?
How far into a movie does an opening qualify?
How does Saw start? Does it start with a game?
That's a good question. I think Saw starts with them waking up in the bathroom. I'm almost positive.
It does. You're right.
And then it cuts to like,
and then it goes
scene
back.
and
Yeah. Okay.
What are you thinking, Adam?
Well, I would just. It's hard to say it's an opening scene because it happens a decent amount into the movie, but Hereditary.
I knew you were going to say that.
Once that you know exactly.
You know. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sure. The car scene.
Yeah.
If you consider that first 15-20 minutes to be opening, because it's really not the same movie until that opening. You know, until that happens. If you consider that, then I would say that's probably up there. But again,
that might be stretching it a little bit.
It's stretching a little bit, and also I am not one to be talking about top horror movie opening scenes because I just have not seen enough horror movies to really have a valid opinion on it.
I feel like there's listeners that are just screaming at their speakers.
Yeah. I was like, I know I'm missing something, but those were kind of the two I got off the top of my head. So yeah, that's that.
The first Nightmare on Elm Street starts with where he runs down the.
Is that the opening scene in
the thing with the thing? Well, that's the first kill.
With
I
like
guess,
the extended
maybe.
with the extended arms.
I think it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it starts in the dream. But yeah, now that you bring that up, I'm trying to think. Now I'm racking my brains.
Yeah. Well, that'll have to be a conversation for another day of kind of top horror interests. Well, maybe I'll put together a list or something.
Or like even just like those ones where like the film just takes that hard left those are my favorite type of horror movies, where it's just like the first time where it just first takes that first turn. If it just comes out of nowhere or really surprises me, that's just always my favorite feeling of just like, oh, we're in it now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think with that you could probably touch on like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well.
Sure.
Specifically, I mean, I like the remake as well, where you kind of get the suicide type things.
Yeah, of course, in the van.
Yeah. So, but yeah, nonetheless, got to that. There should be a 28 months later coming out in the near future, directed by Alex Garland, who's also, as we said, written both 28 Days Later, or at least he has writing credits on both 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. He's also done Ex Machina, which is a phenomenal movie. He's also done Annihilation. And he did Men, which we were kind of iffy about, but nonetheless, he's got a good track record. Outside of that, another film, I got to another rewatch, and that was actually Paid in Full.
Oh, okay.
And that was the first time I've rewatched that since we did it for the pod, and that's a movie I probably do watch about every other year or so. I love that movie, man. So that's probably, I've probably seen that movie, I don't know, in like the top 10 most rewatched movies I have in my life. I could imagine that's in like the top 5.
Sure.
So yeah, really good one. I can pretty much quote that entire movie. That's really it. Outside of that, a ton of YouTube. Still going through God of War. That game is awesome. We were talking about this pre-pod, but
how far into it are you?
Honestly, not that far. Maybe 3.5, 4 hours in.
Okay.
Of gameplay, but really good, very cinematic, as you can imagine, as God of War was the 4th one. It's a very cinematic game. This game looks phenomenal. Just playing it, the detail to the environment, the detail to like rocks, the details to Kratos himself. You get as we kind of mentioned, Thor is in the game as well, and it's obviously not like the
Marvel Thor,
goofy, happy, go funny Thor.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's very.
He was in the last one too, wasn't he? He was in the one before this.
Yeah, briefly. Where this one, you definitely get a good conversation with Thor and Odin relatively early in the game, and that's when I'm just like, I'm fucking sold on this. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Then a ton of YouTube, and that's it. I did get back to Turning the Tables, though. They had an episode of Mac Miller, The Divine Feminine.
Okay. Yep.
And that's actually my favorite Mac Miller project.
Gotcha. So you're back on the back in the saddle.
So definitely saw that pop on there, and I was like, that's one I got to go ahead and give it a listen. So I think that was last Friday at work. Just kind of had that in the background, and yeah, love that project. Favorite Mac Miller project. After that is maybe like classics if you want to like kids,
sure,
things of that nature, right? But I definitely think the Divine Feminine takes the cake for me, and yeah. That's
would you consider Jaws? Jaws' opening a classic?
I've never
opening.
seen Jaws.
You've never seen Jaws?
No.
Oh man.
Oh,
holy fuck!
I've never seen Jaws.
Ooh,
no.
That is
damn near close to a perfect movie.
Am I the only person who hasn't seen that?
I think
You've seen
so.
Jaws, Adam?
Yeah, I watched
on Planet Earth.
Oh, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
That is definitely one we need to do for pod. That might be one that'll fight for my top 2, 3 again as well too.
Yeah.
I love Jaws, man. I love Jaws.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess that's something I'd have to.
Like it's another one of those ones that like rises above just it's a good horror movie or a good popcorn movie into like this is just an actual good movie,
Yeah. Well, I tried to push that with Alien and I got bullied to putting it at 11 with the crew, but I hear
Fair
you.
enough.
I hear
Fair
you.
enough.
But yeah, so no, that's all I've got. Ty?
Yeah, so I've actually not like anything too crazy, but got around to the final race of the season, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, which brings an end to a 2022 season, but little less season,
little less dramatic than last year's Abu Dhabi race.
Yeah, for sure. I would say still dramatic, just kind of in a different sense. You got a little bit of team kind of drama, and then we're losing a lot of people and gaining a lot of people, so just a little bit different sense of the thing in general, but overall Had a blast. Can't wait till winter break is over. I don't know what I'm going to do on Sunday mornings without my races. And go Red Bull.
Wow. Bold of you to say, sir.
Yeah, how dare you?
Got around to some stuff on YouTube. Some of my car guys got some new cars, so
I
it's
had a
always good to have.
feeling.
Huh?
I said I had a feeling. As soon as you said YouTube, I was like, I'll bet you it's the car boys.
Yeah. So I got some people are getting some new cars and some new updates, and we got some holiday stuff on. Like one of my guys does 25 days of vlogs. He calls it Vlogmas, so he puts out quite a bit of content, and there are a couple other people that do it. So it's nice to have some kind of regular daily stuff, which is pretty cool. Leah got around to a TV show that she's been watching for a while, but I guess this is the last season that was happening on Netflix. It's called Dead to Me. I've only caught a couple of different episodes kind of throughout, I think, the 4 seasons that it was on.
Does that have Linda Cardellini in it?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. I vaguely remember. I think my mom and my brother watched that.
Yeah, it's not a bad show overall. It's not like the best thing on the face of the planet, but it's definitely pretty good. It's watchable for sure. And then we started Friends again, just kind of something to have on in the background. We had it on while we were doing the Christmas tree and stuff like that, because we're maniacs and we got it up already.
Of course.
So we found some of the Christmas episodes and just kind of went to those, and so that was fun to kind of have on in the background.
Of course.
And then last but not least, I wanted to kind of Boruto had me feeling like a different type of way.
Okay.
And so I wanted to continue it, but I couldn't do it in the subs. I tried for like 3 episodes and I'm like, I just can't.
Fair enough.
So I actually did something that not everybody is able to do. And I restarted Naruto season 1, episode 1.
Holy crap.
I quit. I quit the pod.
So I'm already through the first season, which is, I think, like 55 episodes or 51 episodes.
Are you to the point now where you just like skip the first 10 minutes and then you watch the 10 minutes that actually, give new information, and then just skip the last 10 minutes too?
No, it's really on. It's on Hulu. So and it's not like the premiumest of Hulu. So
Sure.
there are ads. So it plays the intro and then it goes to like a 1.5-minute ad, and then you maybe get like 10 minutes, and then you get like a 1.5-minute ad, and then you get like another 10 minutes, and then 1.5-minute ad. But once you get to that last ad, you can go to the next episode.
Gotcha.
So I'll skip the intros and I'll skip the outros, but I'll take the meat of it, and the probably like, I don't know, we'll call it 5 minutes of commercials.
Right.
But yeah, I've watched a lot of Naruto, so a lot of it isn't obviously new, but there are obviously some things that I've forgotten, and this will probably be my second rewatch from like start to finish, because I am going to commit.
Wow. Okay. Big call.
I'm not gonna skip around or anything like that.
Right.
And just like some of the things that I've kind of seen, like it really is actually a pretty well written show, from like an emotionality standpoint. But yeah, it just brings me back, and I can remember why I fell in love with Naruto, and just kind of like what this universe is with ninjas and ninjutsus and taijutsus and like all this other stuff. And it's just so much fun. I'm having a blast. So it was a little bit of a risk, because I knew I was either gonna go back into it and just like completely hate it or completely love it, and I've been like obsessed. So
now you're committed.
Sorry,
I said, and now you're committed.
Yeah. So that's been my meat and potatoes for a majority of my days. But other than that, that's all I've been getting around to. Adam, are you the last one?
I am, and I also don't have too much to go over. It's just been a really, really busy week, so I haven't had time to watch much. But did finish Succession.
Up to date.
Up to date. up
Greg,
to date.
you Machiavellian fuck.
That's a fantastic line. Yeah, I am up to date. Interesting little cliffhanger at the end of season 3.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine they go beyond season 4, especially beyond season 5.
Yeah, you think?
I really don't. It's a great show. I love these characters, but as far as like plot lines go,
Nothing happens.
nothing happens.
Nothing ever happens.
And
you know?
unless something dramatic changes that kind of gives opportunity for new plot lines, I don't know if I want any more than 5 seasons max.
Okay.
Like I would be cool if they ended at season 4.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And if they went beyond season 5, I think that's just too much.
It feels that they know they're kind of on a clock here, though,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes, they have to. And I think what makes me nervous is HBO doesn't House of Dragon is back with Game of Thrones and everything, so they kind of have that in the bag. But besides that, Succession and there's like and Euphoria. And there's like one more show that I'm not familiar with, but I know is like really popular. They have those like 4 shows going for them right now as far as originals go. And I hope they don't drag those out more than they need to be in order to kind of just have things to have or just milk the success of those.
Right.
Because I think it'd be more successful and people would hold HBO in good graces if they let those shows run their course as they need to, rather than kind of bleeding them for as much profit as they can.
Sure, of course.
So I really do hope that season 4 or 5, if they want it / need it, are the last seasons, because anything more than that, again, I could change my mind if something changes in the show that hooks me again or completely, changes the dynamic or leaves room for more plot lines to open up or whatever. But unless something dramatic like that happens, I don't want more than 5 seasons. I think that'd be way
That's
too much.
enough.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. I still can't recommend that show enough for everybody. I think just about anybody can get into it. Shotgunning it like I did and binging it as fast as I did, maybe not the best idea.
You really lose gas around the 3rd season mark.
I did. And I did slow down a little bit because it was a rough go of it as far as just episode after episode because they hook you first 2 seasons, but then the time I hit season 3, I was like, oh my god,
yeah, definitely.
There's so much of this, and I feel like I've seen the same plot line kind of happen or trope happen a few times, but it's still a great show. Absolutely fantastic. And the other thing I watched was a doc for my documentary class called Roger and Me, the Michael Moore one. It's basically, I think it's his first one.
Yes, that's the one at Roger Ailes.
No. Yes, the
okay.
GM, General Motors CEO.
No, okay, then that's not who it was.
Oh, is that not
Roger Ailes was the Fox News guy.
Oh, okay. Then I don't remember I don't remember his full name. But it's I think it's his first one.
Yeah.
His first documentary.
If I'm not mistaken, it is.
And it covers, I think this was made in the late 80s or 90s, or mid 80s maybe. Anyway, it covers when Flint, Michigan, basically 90% of their town was employed by General Motors, and then they closed 5 factories and unemployed and decimated the entire town's economy and everything.
No big deal.
No big deal. Yeah. So it was a big deal at the time, and the documentary itself though is really interesting because it's also pretty. He takes a lot of liberties in how he edits it. And the information he chooses to include versus the information that he has available to include, because it's not revealed in the movie by any means, but the whole plot line of the movie is he's trying to get an interview with the CEO of General Motors, who is basically behind all these moves for them to move their manufacturing to Mexico or overseas to cheaper labor, and he's trying to just get an interview with them to be like, hey, do you see what you're doing to this town? It's horrible and everyone's miserable and the town's collapsing on itself. And the whole idea of the film is that he can't find Roger. He's avoiding him. It turns out he actually did get to eventually meet with the guy, but he's decided not to put it in the documentary.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He got an interview with the CEO, but he just decided it was a better movie without the interview, so he didn't put it in. And he made the whole thing about how they were avoiding him. And how he tried every attempt, including going to a shareholders meeting where they basically took the mic away or turned off his microphone as he got to the front because they knew who he was at that point.
Yeah.
And so as soon as he said his name, they cut off his mic and they're like, well, that's all we have time for. Thanks, folks. And then they basically ended the conference. And so it's like this whole dramatic build up to the fact that he won't meet with them, but it turns out he actually did. And so it kind of sets the stage for a new style of documentary where it's just like there's a lot of creative liberties that can be taken by people, and people might not always know that because people always know what you include. They don't know what you don't include. And that's a big thing. So, yeah, interesting watch. It was a good movie, entertaining, of course, but it gets kind of you start questioning the ethical limits of a documentary when you watch something like that. And we watched a few clips from his other films. We watched a clip from Bowling for Columbine, where it's pretty blatant his like kind of manipulation of editing and shots, where it's like these two things were not shot at the same time, or in sync with each other, but they were kind of edited to make you think this way. Or he interviews there's that famous quote where it's like you can from one of the head guys at the NRA where he's like, you can take my gun from my cold dead hands kind of thing.
Charlton Heston.
Yes, Charlton Heston. Thank you. There's an interview with him that he does, but my professor was saying at the point that he does the interview with them, he's like 85 years old and has like dementia or something like that, and it's like, but it's not revealed in the film. So he's kind of comes across as like this old, crazy guy, but it's just like no, he was actually kind of being taken advantage of a little bit, manipulated, but it's never revealed that he had that. And so yeah, interesting stuff. Michael Moore, not the most ethical documentarian out there, turns out. Who would have guessed? But yeah, that was good. Definitely recommend. I don't think it's streaming anywhere. I think I had to rent that, but pretty good. But that was pretty much all I had time to watch. I've had an incredibly busy week, so we'll see what I get to in the future. It turns out it's going to be Andor, as I promised Nathaniel, which I'm pretty excited to get to. I brought up the fact that you thought Andor's Season 1 was better than House of Dragon Season 1.
Yes.
To Papa Schwartz, and he goes, ooh, it took a long time. He's like, maybe I could see that, one of those. So he really took that one to heart. He wasn't sure. He was pretty torn up about it.
I'll be very interested to hear his review.
Yeah, but he's been liking it, and he checked out Spirited Away. He was shockingly surprised, as he reminds me he is by a lot of the movies. So that's why I love the pod. I get all these movies.
Papa Schwartz is a fucking G. There's no shot that I could recommend that movie to anybody in my family except like Justin and like maybe my sisters. I guess we'll just say parents, and they would be like, yeah, you know what? I'm down.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even have to coerce him. He watches pretty much every movie for the pod, regardless of what it is. He's watched Your Name, Weathering with You, Your Name Now. Movies I wouldn't expect him to watch, and I don't think he even said it himself, probably wouldn't watch on his own, but he's like, that's why I love the pod. I get to see all these movies I wouldn't normally watch.
Right. You're a fucking baller.
Yeah. Shout out Papa Schwartz, as always. Well, that's it for my nudist streaming list, and so it's time to get into the main review segment. Nathaniel, if the listener here...
Really quick before you jump into that, I do want to bring up, while you were speaking on docs coming out, or present docs that are out, HBO Max has one coming out with Shaq, and that comes out tomorrow, and it's got...
Go ahead.
It's got clips with Kobe as well, and it's basically like Shaq's life, basically about that whole kind of like championships Lakers team.
Sure.
Like, what is it, 99, 2000, 2001, I think, or something like that. I may be off a year, but I think it has to do with that three-peat, so that's something I'm definitely looking forward to. I think the first episode airs tomorrow, and I think it's weekly. I think it's every Wednesday for the next 4 or 5 weeks or something like that.
Thank you for saying that, because that just jogged my memory. I did watch actually 2 other things this week.
Okay.
So before we get into the main review segment, I'll make this quick. I watched 2 basketball documentaries on Netflix. One is one of those untold stories for that, like the sports docs that they've been doing on the and brand.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's really good. It's really, really good. It's basically like, what the fuck happened to and one? Because they came out of nowhere, were really popular,
for sure,
very popular really quickly, and then disappeared like that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like their story, and it's really interesting. There's a lot of shit I didn't know, because I remember and one being around when I was really young.
Yeah, for sure.
Way younger. But then it just kind of faded away, and like I was too young to even like kind of like recognize that, and then I remember seeing the trailer for it as I was like going through Netflix, and I was like, this looks interesting, and also what the fuck did happen to And One? I remember that brand. Like, what the hell happened? Sure. So that's a good doc. For sure, definitely check that out. And the other one I got to was the Redeem Team on Netflix. That's the 2008 Olympic team documentary.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Which I was also pretty good, and that's got some footage of Kobe as well, talking about that team from 2015 in some interview that he was doing. But then it's got a lot of the rest of the team. It's got Carmelo, it's got LeBron, it's got Chris Bosh, it's got all of them pretty much.
Yeah, for sure.
And it goes over not only just 2008, but like the first 30 minutes are kind of like a history of the U.S. Olympic team for basketball. And like, you know, when they did the superstar team or what, the dream team with like Jordan and like 92. You know, some of the times that we've lost in basketball or the controversies or whatever, like it goes over a lot of the history of Olympic basketball. And then it kind of builds up to the 2008 team, and like their kind of run at getting the gold there. So that was definitely good. Wasn't any Last Dance or anything like that, which I was kind of like hoping it'd be. I wasn't expecting so much backstory on the Olympics. I was really hoping they'd go in a little bit more than they did on the actual team itself. And they do in the second half for sure, but I was just expecting a lot more of that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely good doc, both of those, and both are on Netflix if you'd like to check them out.
Yeah, I think those sound interesting. The And One, actually, now that you bring that up, that might be something I might actually
Dude, you should.
open up Netflix for.
You should. It's really good.
That's one of those brands that, like, I can guarantee you right now, I still have And One shorts at my house.
Sure.
Now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I'll go to sleep in or whatever it is.
Right.
It's just one of those things where I haven't even thought of that in years.
They got pretty big, man.
Yeah.
Like that was because I remember when I was younger, like because to me, growing up, like that brand was just another brand at that time.
For sure.
Because I don't remember a time before that. So like the fact that they were around and so big and then like really just disappeared overnight. And there's a reason for that they get to in the documentary. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I'll have to get to that.
Yeah,
and there's definitely looking forward to that.
A lot of cool stuff in there about like the street basketball stuff that they were doing, and then the league and everything like that I didn't even know about. I was too young to even know that was a thing. Yeah, so that was really
I
cool
used to watch a little bit of that stuff.
Yeah,
caught on TV. And then even just playing like the NBA street basketball games was pretty much like made off And One.
We're on the other side of this time.
Right. We're still
live.
Pause.
We don't have to pause.
It
It's
feels
great.
good.
Yeah. Right. Suck it, Ty.
So yeah, I mean, definitely looking forward to that, and obviously looking forward to kind of the Shaq and Lakers one as well, with kind of that Kobe footage where that actually brings me back to a thought, and we're just bouncing everywhere, so I fucking apologize. But it was the Pivot podcast, and they had somebody who was fighting for UFC. Was there a big fight like 2 weeks ago, Nathaniel, or something?
Yeah, there was the
Adesanya.
Yeah, Adesanya versus
he was
Pereira.
On there, and I was gonna send it to you. And once I saw a UFC fighter on there, I was like, he's got to be fighting relatively soon. You know?
Sure.
And I watched, and it was pretty good. So I'll have to send that your way. But then after that, they had Tracy McGrady on there, who was probably even on that Olympic team from 2008. I don't know if I can put a bet on that. To Adam's point, but it was really good to see him. He's a Hall of Fame basketball player and whatnot. But he had some very good stories of Kobe Bryant where, like, he's just now one of those, like, mythical figures. So, like, any story of Kobe Bryant now is just, like, so interesting. And people just have, like, the craziest stories where he was telling one time, I think they were, like, in Disney World, like, in the off-season or something, training. And it was, like, a Saturday. And he's like, yeah, they, like, went out to, like, a bar and a club or something like that Friday night. And then Trace McGrady was like, yeah, like, I'm going to try to, like, wake up in the morning and, like, get a workout in. You know what I mean? And then we can go back to doing whatever. And then he was saying, Kobe was like, man, fuck that shit. It's, like, the weekend. You shouldn't, like, have to work out. And he's like, and sure enough, I woke up the next morning and Kobe's down there working out. Yeah. And he was like, and I just realized that's the type of person he was.
Well,
I mean?
there's stories like that
For
in
sure.
Redeem Team, too.
Yeah.
They were, it's a short one, but it was, like, the whole team basically went out in Vegas while they were at training camp. Like, one of the first weeks they were there, the whole team went out on, like, a Friday night, and they were getting back from the club at, like, 4 or 5 in the morning, and as they're in the lobby, Kobe's going to the gym. Yeah. And so, like, later by the end of the week, all of them are going to the gym.
Yeah,
at, like,
for sure.
5 in the morning.
So he's like, yeah. Rest in peace, man.
Dude.
I am. I'm definitely looking forward to that doc. I'll certainly tune in tomorrow night.
These basketball docs the past few years have been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We might need to take a break because Tyler can't see us or hear us.
That's cool.
Oh,
we
word.
can
Okay.
we can pause really quick. Stand by, listeners. Well, welcome back, listeners. Thank you for breaking with us, even though I guess you didn't really take much of a break to the magic of editing. But we're going to get into the main review segment. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new or maybe they've just forgotten, you can give them a rundown of how the review segment works.
What up, folks? If you're new or maybe you've just forgotten how the review segment works here on Back Row Banter, it is split into two sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. It's pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the movie's IMDb page, all of its good stuff, who directed it, who's in it, who wrote it, everything that you may want to know about it. Go over its IMDb summary. Go around the circle, decide whether we would recommend this movie. Or why did I say circle? The squadron. Who am I kidding? And decide if we are going to recommend this movie. It has to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. Then it's going to be spoilers. If you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, go ahead and skip this section where we go into our deeper thoughts and any bigger spoiler plot summary elements, points. And if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, do come back because we are going to mark it in our show notes and see where this movie ranks up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast, ranked. With that being said, Adam, tell me about American Psycho.
I would love to. This movie was made and released in the year 2000 with a rating of R. R rating.
R.
R. It's not a pirate. It's not a pirate movie, but it's rated R, and a runtime of 1 hour and 42 minutes with an IMDb rating of 7.6 out of 10.
Oh.
A respectable rating.
Yeah, it's higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Directed by Mary Herron, who is a woman, and I would not have expected this movie to be directed by a woman based on the content. But it makes sense kind of when you think about it.
The old joke is it's a story that's written by a misogynist and directed by a feminist. Is the
Okay.
kind of line around Hollywood at the time.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's written by Mary Herron herself and Guinevere Turner, based on the novel by Bret Easton Ellis. The cast includes, if I can find the cast, there we go. Christian Bale, Justin Theroux, Josh Lucas, Bill Sage, Chloe Savini, Reese Witherspoon, Samantha Mathis, and Matt Ross. I think and Jared Leto, and Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe, I think this cements him as number one on
Yeah, I was thinking that when I was watching this.
For sure.
because he at this point has, I think this is 6 or 7.
Because who was? We always talk about this. Who was
Vera
one? Was it-
Farmiga was up there.
Vera Farmiga, is the sneaky.
It was a sneaky, had 5 appearances or 4 or 5 appearances.
It's really just the Conjuring franchise.
But then Godzilla. And
yeah, true.
Yeah,
true,
so she had
true.
4 or 5.
You're right.
And then there was one other one who was or I think it was maybe Rebecca Ferguson had 4.
Yes, that was
There was a
true
few
as
that
well,
were
too.
tied at 4 or 5, but I think this.
Nonetheless, we think Willem Dafoe.
I think this tops it out. Well, maybe we'll check later
Willem
to double
Dafoe's
check.
taking the lead.
But I'm pretty sure he's at least I think he's got
Not a bad guy
5
to
or
have
6.
number one, though. To be
No,
honest with you.
that's a fantastic number 1 actor.
Captivating.
Yeah, most appearances. The IMDb summary for the movie reads as follows. A wealthy New York City investment banking executive, Patrick Bateman, hides his alternate psychopathic ego from his coworkers and friends as he delves deeper into his violent, hedonistic fantasies. It was a really good summary.
Like that one?
Yeah, that was fantastic.
There you go.
Good job, whoever wrote that one.
Is that a contender for your list
That's-
of IMDb summary?
I've stated in the past, it's it's a 4-quadrant system.
Mm.
That's Q1 for sure. Where it ranks
Wow.
in Q1 is up for debate because I don't know what's in Q1. I don't keep track, but that is in Q1 for sure. That's a great one. It leaves you curious, but it gives you all the information you need to know. I don't really know if I have to fill in many blanks. I mean, you got Patrick Bateman, Christian Bale, in one of his breakout roles, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
I don't know what he's done before this, but this is, I feel like, what put him on the map, correct?
Yeah, it would be up there for sure.
Yeah. So you have Patrick Bateman, Wall Street executive, who hates his job, but of course has his kind of underlying passion project, if you might want to call it that. His hobby is being a serial killer,
Certainly is.
which may sound like a kind of like a kooky comedy when you kind of put it on paper.
Sure.
Like a Wall Street executive who's also a serial killer, like
Wall Street by day, murder by night.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like it's kind of like a parody or satire, maybe. in some aspects you can consider this satire.
Absolutely.
But it's a little bit more serious than that. It's got its comedic elements for sure.
Yeah.
There's definitely like maybe not laugh out loud moments, but you're just like, this is so kind of fucked up in a funny way.
Yeah.
But it does it's more sophisticated than that in a lot of ways, I would say. But what are your thoughts here, guys? This is of course the third time we've tried to review this. We finally got it on pod. It was that we've had 2 weeks in the past 2 months that we've had to skip. And both those weeks happened to be when we were trying to review American Psycho. So it was almost not meant to be, but here we are.
Here we are.
We got it. Whose first watch was this? This was my first watch. Blake, this is yours?
No, it's
it wasn't. Second, okay.
Yeah.
But you said you only watched it for the first time less than a year ago, right?
Yeah, I watched this for the first time this calendar year.
Okay.
So,
is it anyone else's first watch then?
It's not mine.
Absolutely not.
Okay, well then I guess I am the newbie here, which typically means I go first. This was awesome. This is great. I loved it. I was having a hard time deciphering why I felt this was good, because in a lot of ways initially I was like, I don't know if I'm on board for like the kind of kookiness that was the undertone of kookiness that was there.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But then the more you kind of just let it sink in, and the more you kind of adjust to what this movie's going for and what it's trying to say ultimately, you kind of like, if you just let yourself kind of sink into what we're doing here, it's fantastic at what it wants to do. And Christian Bale, this is one of his better performances in my opinion. Like, I haven't seen Vice, which I really need to see, but of everything I've seen him in, and of course he's fantastic in pretty much everything he's in.
Sure.
Seeing him in a role like this where he is so two-faced and it's so fantastic. He's honestly almost like three-faced, because you have everyday Patrick Bateman who hates his job and is kind of just, going about the daily routine of being a Wall Street executive, and kind of just because he has to be, and likes the lifestyle.
He doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, he doesn't do it. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
but his
father owns the business.
His father, yeah, exactly. So he which is a great point, because it's just like the inherited wealth of like Wall Street and whatnot, and just exactly, the inherited wealth, and which is great. But then you have like serial killer Patrick Bateman, and then you have kind of eccentric Patrick Bateman.
Mm-hmm.
So he plays so many different like faces to this character that all make sense for kind of the serial killer persona that he's going for, and he's fantastic in each one. So I really enjoyed this film. Really enjoyed watching him kind of just have fun with this psychopath, like literal psychopath in this role. It was great, and the supporting cast is great as well. But he's really the main attraction here, without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
And Willem Dafoe, he's here. He's small role. I was hoping he would have a bigger role,
right?
Because I knew he was in this, and I've seen actually. The kind of his first interview scene with Christian Bale. I've seen that before.
Like on a clip?
In a clip, yeah.
So I figured you'd seen at least some of this in clips, right?
Well, this is so memed now.
Right.
Like
me watching it earlier this year, I was like, I don't know, it's probably 3 or 4 scenes where it's like, I've seen the entire scene.
For sure, yeah. Well, and it's just, it has gotten this weird second life.
It really has.
As this like meme fodder, like culling ground.
For sure.
Now Christian Bale, Patrick Bateman is forever just the ooh guy.
This movie's great. Definitely recommend. There's no qualms about that. It is a very confident recommend for me. I think there's a lot to enjoy and get out of this movie here, and you can get a lot out of this movie is more what I meant to say. But this is fun and also interesting to watch. So definitely recommend. And 1 hour and 42 minutes, great runtime.
Can't beat it.
Can't beat it. That sweet spot, of course, around 130, 145. You get in, you get out, and you get a great time.
Yeah. I guess I'll go second, having the second least views of this film. I love it. I mean, it was the first time I watched it earlier this year. It was maybe like March or April. I fell in love with it, and it's just, even sitting here, we have it on while we're recording. Like, I've just been laughing the entire time. There's just so many scenes that are so funny where they just finished the scene where he's with Reese with the spoon and they're like kind of doing the breakup.
Yep.
He's like, I've assessed the situation and I'm leaving. He's like, gets up and walks away. It's so good, and it's so kind of like quirky as well, and he plays the role really good of somebody who's a psychopath. He's completely unhinged. He's like a misogynist. It's just good all around. It's good. The directing's good. The lines are funny. It's very quotable. There's scenes, to Daniel's point, that are just like now like cemented in like pop culture as well. That just kind of makes it even better when you're watching it on a rewatch or a first watch.
Yep.
As we've always kind of been on record, it's really cool to like see a meme and you're like, oh my God, so that's where this is from. Like this is one of those movies. If you've never seen this movie, you would watch it and you would certainly catch some meme references like that. Overall, and it's not necessarily like a true horror movie. I mean, I guess it is a little bit, but like you can pretty much put this on with almost anybody, and like I think they'd be able to get behind it. You know,
there's one or two scenes that are pretty upsetting.
Yeah, well, like, that's like the chainsaw scene, of course.
Yeah.
That's like true horror.
Well, I don't even think that one's as bad as the scene earlier with the same two or the two women that he picks up
when he's in the bed
too.
with the woman. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that stuff's a little dark, but like that was the chainsaw scene was a scene I've seen before.
Sure.
Right. So I was just kind of waiting for it to happen. Like I kind of pieced together that this may be where it occurs, and overall, this movie's just fucking awesome. So I recommend. Nathaniel.
This one is a fun one for me because this is one that I saw. I want to say I was in undergrad, and it was like just one that we had like on like a Saturday morning or something. So it was on like a shitty college TV, and I remember watching it and just being like, okay, like I liked that, but I didn't really get it very much. And it was really on this kind of like second and like kind of I think third watch this year, or third watch overall for me, that it really kind of sunk in and I got the black comedy element of it, which is just so strong throughout it. And my like initial kind of review I think on this watch is just like it approaches that like Verhoeven Starship Troopers air.
Yeah, definitely.
It almost gets to that level, but just not quite, I think, in some opinion, where that movie is just pitch perfect to me.
Dude.
And just so razor sharp in what it wants to do. I think this one skews a little bit more and loses it a little bit in the ends in some ways.
It's not as sharp and clever.
And not as quite as clear, I think, in its message as well, too. But, who is that Verhoeven's the master of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really now that I look back on it and just kind of again seeing Bale's performance and his kind of commitment, I think, to it is just it's just a joy to kind of watch in some ways too. And big recommend for me. I really, really, really enjoyed it on this viewing. Tyler, as the one who's watched this the most times, tell us your feelings this time.
It's great, man. I don't think that I probably haven't watched this in, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 years.
Sure.
And I think this time around I definitely gained a lot more appreciation for just kind of what it is. It is really great for all the reasons that you guys said. It does have like relatable humor in it. There are aspects of your job that you probably hate. You have probably worked with people that you would probably kill. So there's funny little nuances like that kind of throughout the movie. And it kind of gives you an idea of just kind of your average Joe kind of person could be fucking crazy. But I think kind of the more I watch this, the more appreciation I have for it. I definitely did not take it for what it was. Watching this as like a kind of like an early teen, but kind of like even into like my early 20s, you just kind of didn't really care for it at the time and didn't really dig into it. But yeah, this time I definitely have a lot more appreciation for it, and it's definitely something I will recommend for a long time coming. And Christian Bale just fucking slays, literally.
Yeah, it's a weird one, right? Because it feels like for a long time it had that reputation of being like almost like Hostel-esque, like it was like over the top and like grody and that kind of thing. Like you were a psycho if you liked it or something. And then it kind of got this weird second life where I think like maybe some of the outrage around like its original release died down a little bit and was kind of discovered by that new generation who kind of got that black comedy satire message behind it more. And it's just kind of grown into more of a cult following since then. Because we talk about, watching horror movies a lot and, Halloween or, and whatever, it's how many sequels or Scream or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, just thinking about it, it's very rare that that the serial killer in your serial killer movie is the main character. That is your point of view character the entire time that you watch it. And to go through it from that perspective is like obviously very confronting in the violence and in the like you are exposed to his darkest thoughts. But it is also just hilarious in the situation it puts him in and like the kind of role it ends up putting him into.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, Adam, Tyler, any final thoughts? We're ready for spoilers. I'm a recommend. Tyler, you a recommend?
Yeah, I'm a recommend. We can definitely move into to spoilers for sure.
Blake, you recommend as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you have it, folks. A recommend all around, as I kind of expected, but that doesn't mean because it wasn't surprising recommends that it wasn't an interesting non-spoilers thought. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, we can go ahead and head into spoilers. So if you've not seen American Psycho and do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead and check that episode description where I've left a timestamp you could jump to where you'll be taken to the ranking of the movie up upon the Entropy list.
Up upon.
Spoiler time.
Up upon. Shit goes down
At Dorcia's.
At Dorcia's.
Yeah.
What a fucking great bit. Oh God.
Yeah.
If I ever open a restaurant, it's gonna be called Dorcia's.
Yeah. This movie is honestly it's just everywhere. I mean, he goes by like multiple names in this movie.
Yeah.
He calls people by different names in the movie. Like you can see his brain is just so
he's an alien.
Congested.
Yeah.
Like nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think the more you kind of realize that, I also have like a better appreciation for it once you start to catch on to like those things.
I think it's one of those ones that on the first watch, like because it's called American Psycho and because it's got Christian Bale on the poster with the butcher knife and everything, as it starts and as it slowly unravels, it's very kind of an unsatisfying watch in some ways, especially for like your average moviegoer, I would say.
Yeah.
And it is one of those ones that like you have to be paying attention to his machinations and getting into his mind throughout it to really enjoy it and kind of. And I think it does take a certain amount of movie watching literacy in some ways, like it hits you different if you've watched a lot of horror movies, or it hits you different if you've watched a lot of movies in general because it plays on those tropes so much. I don't know. It's just some of my thoughts there a little bit too.
It's not your typical slasher, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
Because if you're classifying this in the horror genre, it would be a slasher of sorts. I mean, I think that'd be the closest you'd get to anything as far as like the types of horror goes. But I have a hard time even considering this a horror movie. This is, I don't even know what you would consider. It's kind of like psychological conspiracy thriller almost, like in some ways.
I think it's a black comedy. I think that's
you really,
that's
you could qualify it as that too, because there's so much there that's.
Well, I think its ultimate core messaging is that the 80s and like that lifestyle of just superfluous luxury and just nepotism and greed is so rotten and so corruptive, and capitalism is so insidious that even our great fear, the serial killer, gets just crushed under it and just like sucked into the machine so that he can't even get out at this point. This guy that's completely alien to us and is just there to like hunt us for sport, basically. Yeah. Can't survive amongst this thing. The predator can't survive amongst this system that we've created.
Yeah, the most grotesque thing that we conceptualize as like a serial killer, like something we fear kind of in society, or at least especially kind of in that time, because it's been a while since we've had a famous serial killer. But for a while, from like 50s to the 80s or 90s.
Right.
Like, you know, there were a few that popped up here and there, you know, and like, so something that we'd feared so much in society with, like, you know, the great serial killer, that is not as scary as
rich people,
as capitalism, as Wall Street, basically.
Right.
And that's kind of like the core message of this movie, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and that is what makes an American Psycho.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And that's such an apt title, because it's the American kind of not dream, but the American function of how we've kind of set up our system with everything that makes this a uniquely American movie in some ways.
Yeah, for sure. And
I think the American dream still comes into play though, because it kind of like that for a long time, like being on Wall Street, making that kind of money, like that was kind of the dream, and like chasing that will make somebody go crazy.
I think that's tightly tied into it, Tyler.
Especially at this time too, because this is, what does it take place? 80s, 90s?
Yeah, 80s. Yeah.
So.
I think that is very tightly wound into. I think it's supposed to be Patrick Bateman is living the quote unquote embodiment of the American dream, and he's also that is what it's emblematic of, is that to pursue it fully, you have to almost be the psychopath, and even once you get to that point, if you continue to follow the ultimate American dream, it's going to chew you up as well too.
Yeah.
Until you break from reality and can't tell difference from thing. And yeah, that's just, there's so many bits in this movie that are so funny, and just like that accent he's using,
so good.
And that weird just like arrogance that he's always
his
projecting,
mannerisms and everything. Just
like like we were talking about earlier. I've assessed the situation and I'm leaving. You know, and it's always that kind of proper, like he's always got that smile going, and that his teeth are all perfectly straight, and it's just
Hal, we have nothing in common. You smell like shit.
Yeah, I want to help you, but we have nothing in
We have
common.
nothing in common.
His monologues are crazy too, about like the music, and like
Oh my God,
because
dude.
like after Blake showed us his display, I'm like, Blake's killing people.
For context, Blake sent a picture of his vinyl wall that he's kind of got up for some decor in his new condo.
Yeah, but like even that, I feel like speaks to the strength of Mary Herron's direction and kind of in the writing within it too, where it's like, okay, he has this. You know when he's gonna kill when he starts obsessively talking about music, and he has it, and you see it as like he is this empty shell of a person, and he's tried to fill in all of that stuff with just knowledge about music and society, because he has no pop empathy or anything like that, no ability to connect. So he's just this laundry list of information instead, and that's
it's almost like a binary way of kind of
he infiltrates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he sees it in very ones and zeros, where it's like, all right, I'll just gather information about this.
Right, and now I'm gonna
regurgitate it.
And oh, you didn't say the right things, so it's raps for you, kind of thing.
And
you know?
each of those monologues, it's like it feels like the character rehearsed those.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, everything he's saying in this, it nothing seems genuine.
No,
and, like,
not at
that's like the really good part too. And once you kind of like break down Patrick Bateman, even all his friends, like at the end they're sitting here, like as I kind of mentioned, like people call each other the wrong names. Everyone's so far up their own ass. Like,
they have no idea who anyone is.
Yeah, like people call each other the wrong names the entire time. All they talk about is like, let's just go get a reservation. Let's do as much blow as we can. There's like no context.
I'm trying to do drugs over here. He even says like, I like him because he's the most interesting person I know, and like, but he's everyone else around him is boring or whatever, and like, he is just this weird. So it's so nihilistic, I think too, and as well too, and just so openly nihilistic and openly hostile to its audience in some ways. It's just a mean little movie that I like a lot.
Yeah. Even just watching this on mute is hilarious. Just his mannerisms alone, it just seems so like he was like laughing 5 seconds ago, and now he's like dead serious. But yeah, it's awesome. It's so quotable as well. I mean, you just kind of see like stuff that's even obvious on first watch. Like in the beginning, I forgot his mistress name. But they're like at the dinner table, right? And he's kind of like detailing. He's narrating the situation. Yeah. Of like, hey, I don't even think that she knows that I'm fucking her partner. Things of that nature. But he's on the phone with her. Then he's just like casually watching porn in the background.
Yeah.
He's just talking
completely disconnected from like
he's just his conception of reality is so skewed.
I have to go return some videotapes.
For sure.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that there's a very good argument that none of the murders we see in the film happen.
No,
at all.
exactly.
Well,
that's
what I take
we haven't
away.
even taught. Yeah, we haven't even talked about yet. But
the ending's pretty open ended. It's just was any of this real? And I think that also plays into just the whole thing that we've been talking about like the what is the American Psycho then?
Right.
Is all of this real, or is this just him coping with the fact?
Yeah.
Is this all just in his head, and he's that psychotic with his job and day-to-day life? Like, this is how he escapes, is imagining all these scenarios too.
Well, like that's one play of it, and then I think the other play of it is also just like everyone is so far up their own asses. Like he could do this, and nobody would know. Like you know what I mean? And it's
like William Dafoe says, he's like he was killed by his friends, and you're like, and us as a viewer are just going, they're not friends. They don't know anything about them. But like again, that idea of like the story that they're presenting is so idealized that the idea that something bad could be happening behind the scenes is just unthinkable kind of thing.
Yeah,
and there's so many kind of just comedic undertones on this from the fucking the business card part, the part where he finally kills Paul Allen, then he meets like the prostitutes, and then and when he first goes to Paul Allen's apartment, he's narrating himself, and he's like, and he slightly lives in a better area. It's like, I think it's slightly more expensive than my apartment. And then he takes the prostitute there later in the film, and then she's like, oh, I like this place way more than your other apartment. And like just stuff like that. It's just so funny to kind of catch up on. And this movie's awesome. Him narrating alone just is the I don't know. Him narrating alone, like
top
I said,
notch.
It's top notch, man.
It's
the icing on the cake. That's what I was looking to say.
It's something that definitely takes the movie to that next level too. I think if you have somebody else narrating this, or if you have more of him kind of not narrating but still like playing his part, I still think you achieve more by him kind of being outside of it, but still being in it.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a movie where Jared Leto gets hit in the head with an axe, so that's always
we are anti-Jared Leto on this podcast, by the way. So, one scene that's actually really good as well is the interrogation scene with Willem
I was
Dafoe.
just about to bring that up.
And kind of the more you do research on that, so they actually filmed that, I think, 3 times.
I was about to bring this exact fact up.
One with the intent that Willem Dafoe thought that Christian Bale did it. The other one is that he didn't think that Christian Bale did it, and then the other one would be that he believes he may do it, but he has to be able to prove it. Right. And they kind of like splice that up through the whole thing.
They
as you're watching
between those 3 different
like,
takes.
This is so weird. It doesn't really flow anything, and you can see kind of Christian Bale like basically kind of like sweating throughout the interrogation and whatnot, and then he immediately backtracks on like the musical. Right, he said something about they went to see some type of shows like Africa on something.
Oh yeah.
And then he asked him about like a black band, and he was like, "No, it's not really my type of music."
No, that scene's great because
sure.
it just like the whole time you're really uneasy. Is like you're like, does he know? Does he?
Yeah.
Does he looks like he does, but then next cut back he looks like he's fine. It just makes you really uneasy as a viewer because you're trying to figure it out too. But it's just really smart to kind of film it that way where it's not like your character at this point doesn't know anything, isn't suspecting, but it's just like to have the intent of the direction and the intent of like the way the scene's acted by Willem Dafoe to be kind of spliced up that way where it's like you really don't know which take you're getting and you don't know which kind of perspective the character is at because you can really see almost which take you're getting when you kind of look at it that way. If you watch that scene back, you can kind of pick apart which take you're getting cut from when you look back at Willem Dafoe, because sometimes he's really relaxed, really calm, but then other times he's just kind of giving Christian Bale the death stare, and you're like, oh my god, he does know, but then he cuts back and it's like, does he? So I think that was an incredibly smart way to direct that scene, and that's really good.
We were talking earlier about kind of pitch perfect opening horror movie scenes as well too, but I think this one has an incredible kill fake out with Chloe Savini's character Jean, the secretary, and when he's like walking behind her and he has the the nail gun.
The
He's
nail
like,
gun.
I'm just looking for a meaningful connection with someone and everything. And like I think that's a great thing because she's the only sweet character
For sure.
in the movie.
You're rooting
and
for her.
you're rooting for her so hard as an audience member, and you're like, please God, just don't kill this one person. You can kill anyone else, but just not her, and as well too. And I thought that was great. And then too, like we were talking earlier, just the memification of this movie, and like even to the point where I think it was the Family Ties Kendrick Lamar video, and he does the Huey Lewis in the News dance as well too. That great weird little shimmy that has just become iconic now, and it is so funny to me this weird cultural hold this movie kind of has nowadays.
It is, 20 years later too.
Yeah,
it's
just
strange.
goes to show, make a good movie and people will see it and people will watch it and people will love it. You know,
Facts.
For sure. Any other big points here that we want to talk about? Dorcius or?
I need to return some videotapes, so we should get out of here.
Should be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and rank American Psycho up upon that Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of every movie we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies rather than do it out of 5 stars, out of 10, whatever it is. We throw up all the movies we review on a list and see how they compare to one another. If you'd like to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description, where it is linked to my Letterboxd.
What are you thinking?
Well,
Let me pull up this list, fellas. Let me see.
Well,
You gotta let it rip first, Adam. You're
Oh,
first
man.
watcher.
Okay. It's been a while since I've gone first, I feel like. Let me just add it to the list first. Episode 126. That's a 5. 126. I feel like you could go quite a few different places.
yeah, no, I feel like if you were listening to our review, we were very, very net positive on this movie. I do have criticisms of it as well too. You know, it's definitely of its time and set in a certain era. So there are some naughty words in throughout it, and not great ideas by some of the men.
I think for sure.
I think it was it
It's
Christian?
like a theme of the movie.
Yeah, Christian Bale was saying that he like afterwards he was in that interview where he was going through his iconic roles, and he was like, people still talk about Bateman on Wall Street and talk about how much they love him and everything, and that scares the hell out of me or whatever. Something to that effect of like, this is not someone to idolize.
For sure.
I think those people are just so up their asses that they just don't realize the commentary of the movie.
As well too, and I mean, it is an incredibly tricky script. Like if you were handed the script as a director, and it would be one that you would be like,
are we still in the review?
No, I guess
kidding.
final thoughts.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
Keep going.
It would be one that you would be like, you know, oh shit, if I screw up any part of, if I don't get this 100% right, like this could go very wrong,
or just
in terms of, like,
miss what you're trying to get.
Yeah, and just like this thing's ripe for just, you know, a woke canceling or something like that. You know, if you didn't get this tone right, and I think it is remarkable what Mary Harron and Christian Bale and I think it was Genevieve Turner, Guinevere Turner were able to kind of accomplish, and the tone they were able to set with this movie in general.
For sure.
So that being said, how many are we up to on here now? What are we? How many?
We have 125, I think.
This is the 125th movie.
125th. Okay. So
I think I have my spot.
Go for it.
It's really tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm between 31 and 38.
Okay.
Which I know is a little
fair.
spread apart, but I look at Training Day, and then I look at The Northman, and I look at, Spirited Away, Black Hawk Down, Conjuring. I'm like, in some one day I could wake up one day and think this movie is 31. I could wake up another day thinking it's 38.
Sure.
Because I see also John Wick, Nope, and Scream down there too. Like those are great movies. But I'm leaning towards 38. I think is where I'll end up putting it. Below Scream, above Boys in the Hood. Scream I've done you dirty too many times, Blake. I think this one, it's fantastic and as fun as it is. It's not quite, as Nathaniel said, not quite as sharp as Starship Troopers in terms of how it kind of bites you with its message. And so if it were quite that sharp, I think it'd be a lot higher. And as you mentioned before, there are some things that maybe didn't age particularly well here and there. So as great as this movie is, I don't think it's quite in like the S tier that kind of approaches Training Day and Kill Bill and everything we have above 30.
Right.
Which is hilarious that our S tier includes basically 30 movies, because I consider pretty much everything above Training Day to be really incredible movies. And so I think I'll have to lower it to 38, which is still very high up there. But yeah, that's where I'll land.
I'm not far behind you. I'm going to go 39. I'm actually going to put
39.
it just below Boys in the Hood.
Okay.
I think that's just one of those for icon status alone. Like, I think American Psycho is a great cult classic. Mm-hmm. I think Boys in the Hood's a great stone cold classic,
sure.
And in terms of like emerging voices and everything that was going on there. And I like that company that it's in as well too, with Scream being right there, sandwiched between the Kill Bills, Pig is still underneath it. I give all those superhero movies kind of a weird blind spot just because there's almost another like superhero list going on in the list at this point too.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Maybe we should just start a superhero list. Yeah. A superhero entropy list.
Yeah, so then if I'm like taking those out, then it's up there between like Pig and Top Gun and Bullet Train and Coherence and all that kind of stuff too, and sandwiched below the Boys in the Hoods, the Screams, and the Nopes and
Tokyo
stuff.
Drift.
Yeah. So that's where I'm going to put it. 39, below Boys in the Hood, right above Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness.
Cool. Blake?
Yeah, I actually, kind of when I first opened this list up, I was exactly where Nathaniel was. Was just above Doctor Strange and Shang-Chi. Then I kind of started scrolling a little bit, and then I saw Starship Troopers, which I liked. Right, but
sure.
I think I like this a little more, and it's kind of that same tone a little bit. But then kind of the Scream thing is kind of killing me too. So it's like, it's tough. I think I'm gonna have to settle between these. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna settle. I can't put it. It's hard for me to put it above Scream due to the list, but
sure.
I'm gonna go ahead and settle at 34. So that'll be above The Conjuring, below Black Hawk Down.
All right. I didn't expect you to put it above Scream.
Nah, that hurts my heart to say. it really does.
The one time I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah.
Up is down, down is up. What is that?
Let me
I'm not trying to convince you.
No, let me sit at 39. Yeah, that honestly
39
that broke my heart saying that. Yeah.
Okay. So 239 is a 38. Ty?
I think I might be on the other end of the spectrum here. I'm still like in the 30s, but I think I'm going to be a little bit higher. I think I'm going to go 33.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd really like to put it above Northman, but like Kill Bill, Training Day, and like Spirited Away. Spirited Away has so much more of a nostalgia factor for me, because that was actually something that I caught like kind of in my early teens.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm gonna go 33, just right under Spirited Away.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that will give us an average rating of 37.25, meaning we have to tie break it with Scream.
No way it's ranked higher. It might be. You said it's a 7.6.
Well, let's do our back row tiebreak first. Does anyone want to put it above or below Scream? I would vote below.
I'd vote below.
Yeah, I'd vote below too. This has a Scream has a 7.4.
And what's this? A 7.6?
7.6.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm cool with back row.
Yeah,
back row.
No, yeah.
I'm cool with back row rules being that Scream is above it. In fact, I would vote for that personally.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Well, that's 3 out of 4 here. Ty, are you cool with that?
Yeah, I don't care. I lost to majority rules anyways, but I really don't care.
All right. Sounds good. Well, then we have American Psycho locked in at number 38. And thus concludes the review segment. Next week's review segment will be covering Glass Onion.
I'm excited for this.
I forgot we're
Or
doing
a
that.
Knives Out story or something.
Is that streaming or do I have to go to theaters?
No, Netflix.
It's well, no, it's in theaters for like 1 or 2 weeks, and then it goes to Netflix around Christmas time.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to use.
We'll have to go to the theaters for the review next week, which is a film I think we've all kind of said we want to see in theaters.
Yeah.
So we'll have to be doing that, and then join us for a review of that next week. And if you don't want to go to theaters, I guess you can just check out the review come Christmas time. But yeah, that'll be the review next week. Nathaniel, do we have any 5-star reviews of our own?
We do have a 5-star review. Folks, if you want to give us a 5-star review in Apple Podcast, in-app, it's very simple. It's very easy. It does help us grow. It gets us out on the algorithm. And if you do give us a 5-star review, we'll read it out here on the podcast for you. You can say anything you want in the review. It can be nice. It can be mean. It can be funny. Just don't be evil, but it has to be 5 stars. And to that point, we have a review from Gangman69420.
Yo, let's go.
He says, great podcast, 5 stars. Great podcast, truly inspiring and entertaining stuff. I watched this with my wife and kids, and we all love Adam. He's our favorite. So there you go. A good 5-star review of you.
From Bonglord 42069?
Gangman 69 420. But his wife and kids watch as well, or listen as well too.
Good, I'm very glad.
Yeah, shout out Gaglord. That's funny.
Yeah.
Or what's
Gangman.
Gangman.
What did that
420. I'm so glad we're inspiring to Gangman 420.
What's system you got? I got a Gamecast. What do you mean you got Gamecast? You have PlayStation or you have Dreamcast?
Oh man,
I think we've broken Blake there on that one.
Funny.
He also says he watches, which is going to be interesting to do. Considering
he just sits there and watches the still image on YouTube.
On YouTube, gotcha. Yeah, sure. Yeah. He and his wife and kids.
His wife and kids gather around for our explicit
our
podcast.
Static image on YouTube.
Yep. They love it. The kids love it.
Well, it's as simple as that, folks. So give us a 5-star review, just like Gangman 69 420, and you will hear that read out on the podcast. And maybe you too can enjoy some of this comedy gold. But yeah, I think that closes us out. Adam, do you want to get us on out of here?
Yeah, I would love to. Well, when it comes to the show, you know what to do, listener. You can share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker, maybe one who might be a psychopath. We're all in favor of both psychopath and bong lords being fans of the pod.
If you're out on a not a date at Dorcia's, or even just a friendly meeting at Dorcia's, and you want to complete the evening, invite your friend back or your date back, and maybe chuck on the podcast and start talking about it.
You could, 4 guys from a suburb of Chicago.
Maybe you're at the office showing off your new business cards.
Right.
Yeah, and you got inspiration from our little gnome friend, John Wick gnome friend, to get a new one. Make sure you at least shout us out for your inspiration.
A lot of lore on this episode.
Tons of lore.
A lot of lore.
Tons of back row lore here. I hope you bookmark this one because you're going to need to come back to it. But yeah, share as a friend, family member, whoever it is. We need to grow, and we can't do so without you. You can also support the podcast by following us on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and on YouTube. Subscribe to us there. Even if it's not your primary place of listening, we'd love to get our sub count up. That's Back Row Banter Pod, or just Back Row Banter on YouTube. We were able to get that tag straight up. And then email us if you've already submitted a 5-star review, or maybe you have something that can't fit in the 5-star review. Just send us an email for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, anything of that sort to backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. BlakeHolder, where can the people find you at, my man?
Letterboxd, the BlakeHolder. I'll be on there logging some things out of 5 stars, occasionally putting some reviews down. Outside of that, PlayStation, Xbox, Mr. Water Coolers. I'm on there playing God of War. I also do still occasionally play Mortal Kombat, so if anybody thinks that they can beat me, feel free to to reach out and
throw the gauntlet.
Yeah, and we can 1v1 on there. So that's all I got. Let's go to Popcorn Adam.
You can find me on Twitter at H24, where I don't have a blue check mark. I'm just a plebeian on Twitter.
Poor.
Yeah, I'm very poor.
As we just got done talking about how capitalism runs the world.
Elon told me if I get my my $8 blue check mark, I'll be the next billionaire. So don't worry, guys.
Twitter Blue gets your reservation at Dorcia's.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You can find me on Twitter at H24, on Twitch where Halo will be starting up soon. Back up with practice and whatnot as soon as we get the team situation figured out. That'll be twitch.tv/Aish, and Letterboxd is just Aish. Tyler.
Caught me yawning. Twitch.tv/ElTrabajo87. Haven't been on there a ton, but I'm hoping once more of this cold weather kind of hits in, I'll be able to dig in a little bit. And Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter, all Tyler Vidalis. Nathaniel?
What up, folks? You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at NSKingrick. You can find me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Sandpiper Tapes is my other podcast. You know, Adam, if you're looking for another Halo player, I could be the bait. I could just run into one direction.
That is a role we need filled.
And I'll run in one direction in the center of it and just open up shots for you guys.
That sounds great.
So
Need shield.
I only ask for 20% of all profits.
Okay, that's great because the team of 4 usually splits it 4 ways, which is 25 a person.
Oh, good.
So I'll take your other 5%. That sounds good.
I am just being the bait, right?
Of course, yeah. You did 5% less work.
See, what's going to happen is we're going to create a new strategy with this, and then in the final match, I'm going to be, like, for some reason, survive, and I'll just be running around trying to, like, fist or, like, pistol whip
everybody.
dudes.
There you go. They'll never see it coming.
I think this could be a plan.
Speaking of, before you jump off, side tangent, but Nathaniel said the words One Direction. Are they still a band?
No.
I don't think so.
No, okay.
They each are basically doing solo stuff now. I don't know if all of them are still actively doing it, but I think Harry's by far the biggest of them now as a solo artist.
He was in
One
Direction.
Yeah,
okay,
he's by far the
from.
biggest. I think Zayn is still making music. I think that's another one of their names. There's
always
5
one
of them, right?
There's always one that goes super Christian
no
and
idea
has a
what
bunch
you're
of kids, you know.
Okay.
And there's always one that gets addicted to meth or something. And
It's Harry, Liam, Louis, Zayn, and I don't know the 5th.
Niall.
Yeah, there we go. We got it. Back Row's woke from 2014. We're 2014 woke.
Let's get out of here before we get canceled.
Canceled for naming One Direction?
Yes.
Okay, that's very possible.
The Brits, they're very canceled.
Did everyone go with
Cancel
their plugs?
happy. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thank you all for listening for this very fun and special episode 126 of Back Row Banter. We'll see you guys next week for our review of Glass Onion. We'll BRB.
Be excellent to each other, everyone, and we will BRB.
Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate anything you can and will do. That's right. Do it to help us grow. And just kind of spread that love. And we will BRB.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support as always. As we always say, we wouldn't be able to continue this podcast without any listeners. So we appreciate it. Holidays around the corner. Make sure everybody's thankful for something, no matter what it is, no matter how small, no matter how big. We're all thankful for something. So, BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
Are you good now?
Looks like as of today, it's 8 times platinum.
8 times.
Am I?
Wow.
Oh, I am.
Now you're back.
I stuck the end of this under the pillow.
Ah, there you go.
I think
Little
I think
Yankee
that's gonna work.
ingenuity.
Yeah,
Sure you're not studying engineering over there at that fancy school of learning of yours?
This is a very fancy school of learning. Yes, I'm pretty sure I would know if I was studying engineering because my GPA would be quite a bit lower.
Yeah.
So does that mean that your class is just really easy or the engineering is really hard?
Whoa, every major is difficult in its own way, Nathaniel.
That's definitely something someone who has an easy major would say.
You're right. No, you are 100% correct. The engineering classes, of course, are going to be way harder than my film classes and whatnot. I don't know if calculus is harder than documentary theory, but
how do you quantify something?
You
like
can't
documentary
define
theory?
hard, right?
Yeah.
It's like what are we talking about? What's difficult?
Exactly.
To define hard, I think we really need to define happiness first. So, let's just start there.
Maybe on something.
On this philosophical episode of Back Row Banter,
Let's take a chat.
let's have a chat. Names for this movie.
That's bone.
He said what?
Said let's bone.
Excuse you.
Hey Ty, did you end up ordering any rugs from that guy's Instagram page I sent you?
I did not know. I am. We're in the position where we're not trying to spend money on things that we want.
I hear you. I saw it though. I was like, I gotta send this shit to Tyler.
Yeah.
I can't just shake the thought you just have an Instagram rug guy just on the dial like that.
Explore page, man. It's actually I actually found it on one page that pretty much just posts anything of like pop culture relevance. I've sent a few things to Adam. I think I've sent one of you was like Omar and the Wire.
Yep.
I've sent something to Adam that was your name. But nonetheless, I think it's like somebody he probably knows in like real life. I would assume. I really don't know. But he's like post this guy's page one time and he had rugs. And they're actually really cool. It looks like a lot of them he's probably just kind of like making himself. But it was like OG Pokemon cards. But it was in a rug that was probably like
I feel like I've seen this as well too.
6x4.
I think like I've seen the like when they're like they start with it and then they start doing the threading and everything like to make the big shag rugs or whatever, and they like they almost do it from like the reverse side or something.
I don't know. It was really interesting and like they looked pretty good. So I sent it to Ty. I was like, I gotta send this.
This is the problem with Instagram Reels and TikTok and everything is they've driven how it's made out of business. Because you can just everything that used to be on that show and just wonderful 20-minute segments is now just
right.
For sure.
How It's Made was great.
Made.
I loved How It's Made when I was growing up.
How It's Made is the perfect show for gentlemen that like to toke on the wacky tobacco because it just explains things that look aesthetically pleasing as they happen.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just fascinating how that's just anything is manufactured because it goes through processes you'd never guess.
It really does like kind of break your brain into looking at any sort of product. And I had this experience the other day where I was looking at like one of my hampers, my laundry hampers. That's just like a wire frame thing with some fabric around it, and my mind immediately like went to How It's Made, where it's like probably some piece of metal that gets like punched through something or and then there's 50,000 of them stacked up in under a minute or something like that.
For sure.
And then I threw up at the idea of consumer culture and how much shit there is in the world.
Yeah. So I've actually I ran into that last year. I had to go to Atlanta for work. In the facility I went to, they manufacture diapers.
Oh wow.
And it was one of the most interesting days of my entire fucking life. It was so cool to like see that go from like just the straight threads, right, and then build into a diaper, and then they're just like stacked like thousands high, shipped somewhere else. It was so cool. It was all in one building too.
For what you do, don't you have to like calculate how many people lose a finger in the machine every year too, or something like that?
A little bit, not quite. It's more of it's not quite the like liability.
Gotcha.
Of like the workers, it's more of like the liability of the product as a whole in the in the building. So for example, like diapers aren't necessarily liable, but like if they're somebody's manufacturing something that is maybe going to be intrusive, like it goes into the body, then it's like, well, that's like a very high risk. You need to take that seriously, and you know what I mean. That'll kind of have different protocols.
Or after there's they set the diaper factory up next to the glass factory or something.
Sure,
or the broken glass factory, and they're just like, yeah, this maybe isn't a great idea.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard about the like glitter conspiracy that's kind of popped up the past few years?
Glitter,
like glitter. Sorry, glitter.
Oh, glitter. No.
So
I can't even tell you the last time I've seen glitter in person.
that's the thing is like 3 or 4 years ago, the New York Times published an article where they had a reporter go out to a glitter manufacturer. There's 2 glitter manufacturers. One of them owns like 30% of the glitter market. The other one owns the rest of it. There's only 2 places glitter comes from.
Okay.
And they're both based in New Jersey. And they go to this factory, and apparently there's been like a glitter shortage. And so like that's what this reporter went to go try and cover. It was like why there's a glitter shortage. But when he goes to the factory, the company spokesperson is like basically giving him nothing. He can't see the manufacturing process really. And he's not allowed, they don't tell him any information about where this glitter is going, because they have, the biggest thing that came out in the story is they have like one main customer who is buying like 75 to 80% of their product, but that customer does not want anyone to know that the product they're making includes glitter.
Oh.
They do not want people knowing that what they're buying or consuming or using or whatever it is, they don't want people to know that it's glitter, and they don't want their competitors to know that it's glitter. And so it got people thinking once this article came out, because the spokesperson, the reporter even put in the story, he's like, the spokesperson would not tell me at all. And he's like, what, is it something in this industry? She's like, nope. And she's like, it's something you would never, ever guess.
I like to think that this goes a layer further, and that is just an incredibly weird PR move on their part, and that
why would they need to make like, PR moves?
No, and that secretly that as we all know, that glitter actually doesn't have a manufacturing process. It's
a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Well, it's how women shit.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just create glitter.
Gotcha.
And you can't see that, obviously.
Obviously.
This is a theory I've been working on for a long time.
Sure. Yes.
If you knock 3 times on my closet door, it spins around, and there's just a bunch of threads connecting everything else, and at the center there's just a jar of glitter.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Have I revealed too much?
I think so. I think they'd be pretty upset with you.
There's always always the chance
FBI,
this doesn't
open up.
end up.
Yeah, we're gonna get swatted mid-app.
Always the chance this doesn't end up in the podcast, right?
But there's like ever since that article came out, people have been theorizing on what could be this purchaser of glitter, like who's buying 80% of the glitter that's being manufactured, and a lot of people think it's Crest toothpaste.
No.
But that theory's kind of been somewhat debunked, because if you look at the ingredients of what makes up glitter, it's some kind of like plastic, aluminum, carbon, whatever. Carbon
Maybe it's like
thing,
car
aluminite.
paint.
So that's the thing is boat paint is part of it. Boat paint is one that is like known to have a lot of glitter in it. And so like the theory is that like some of it might be car paint, but like at that point, why wouldn't they want to know that it's car paint?
Tesla. Tesla is buying all of the glitter, folks, to put into their shitty cars.
But it's like, so the Crest one was like kind of debunked, because like there is something shiny in Crest toothpaste, but it's not necessarily glitter. Like it's a different chemical formula than what glitter is made up of, so that people don't think it's that. But then it's like, what industry or what product would be putting glitter in, but they don't want people to know that it's a glitter? Because it makes me think it's something that we might be close to consuming, like toothpaste. And so it would be very bad if it came out that people were actually kind of close to consuming that kind of thing.
Goldschlager.
Goldschlager?
Yeah, that alcohol that has the gold bits in it.
I think you're onto something.
Isn't that in Superbad?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, but they call it Goldschlick.
Yeah, Goldschlick.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Maybe those we've talked about. I think we talked about them on the podcast before. Those toys that are just like a weird vinyl sack, and then they're like Chinese finger traps, and you can never like hold on to them, but they're always like underwater.
Man,
themed.
you just unlocked a memory.
Yeah.
Like
the little like squeegee kind of thing.
Yeah. But they always have like glitter inside them and everything.
Yeah.
And that and glitter pens. That's my theory.
Man, I just don't know what it would be. If like what product would they like is so taboo that the public can't know that it's glitter? It's gotta be like something like toothpaste or something equivalent. I don't know. Because if it's car paint, why? Because it's known that it glitters in boat paint, and if the secret product was car paint, why not just say that? I don't know. But yeah, that's been like a big internet conspiracy thing over the past few years. It's like, what the fuck? Who is buying all this glitter? Yeah, exactly. There's no good answers.